Unless you've been stranded out at sea for the past few weeks, you've more than likely heard that Microsoft have recently acquired Activision, or at least they're acquiring the company. Now this instantly led me to brainstorm potential ideas that we could potentially see crossovers between the two companies going forward, between their different franchises. For example, maybe a fighting type game like Smash Brothers, or a Crash Team Racing sequel with different Microsoft characters like Master Chief and Banjo and Kazooie showing up. But the main one that I kept thinking about was, what if Activision made a Halo game, or rather one of the COD development teams? And of course you're already aware from the title of the video that that's today's topic. So in today's video I'll be talking about the potential for an Activision made Halo game. We'll be talking about potential story ideas, the multiplayer, and even a little bonus extra mode. So how's it going, Magpies? I'm Magpie Leon, and let's jump straight in. For our first story concept, we're going to go to the beginning of Halo Infinite, or just slightly before. We're introduced to the main character, which is a Marine, alongside his squad. They're sitting in the cafeteria, maybe a Spartan comes along, maybe Master Chief makes a cameo. Everything seems quite relaxing and quite chill, then all of a sudden, the first banished dreadnought strikes. Suddenly you're thrust into gameplay as you're fighting towards a drop pod that will take you to the surface of the ring, fighting through the banished hordes as the UNSC starts to explode around you. You reach the drop pod, but some of the Marines that you've already grown attached to have already died. You meet up with a few other Marines as soon as you land on the surface of the ring, only for you to all realise that you're alone. You don't know the exact status of the Infinity, but you know it can't be good. You're not sure what happened to the Master Chief or any of the other Spartans, it's just you and your squad, and you see banished phantoms approaching rapidly. The game would take place across the 6 months when the Master Chief is stuck in space at the beginning of Halo Infinite, and a large theme would be hope, as it is in most Halo games, but it would be from a different perspective as you'd be playing as a Marine. The Banished would seem so much scarier in comparison. Elites and brutes are going to tower over the player, and even grunts are going to seem quite large. You'd feel much weaker. You're not going to be able to walk up to them and just melee them a couple of times to kill them. That's not possible. You are just a human. You're not an enhanced super soldier, you're just a regular guy. Throughout the game you'd meet up with different characters, whether they be other squads of Marines, as the UNSC tries to build up and fight back. You'd find Spartans and go on potential missions with them, some of the Spartans that you see in Halo Infinite. This would also make that game more impactful, as you'd grow more attached to some of the Spartans that Chief finds dead in that game. You could even maybe team up with Spartan Griffin, go out on a mission with him, only to then see the scene where he gets captured, but you'd see it through your new character's perspective, and it would add so much more value to that. Obviously throughout the game, your character would stop believing. You'd start seeing that you're fighting all these battles against the Banished, only to be losing. The battle's already lost, your hopes quickly diminishing, and you don't even know if you're going to make it off this ring alive. Most of the Marines that you were friends with are dead, and your squad has now been reduced. But as everything truly seems over, as your character's pretty much given up, you hear over comms from another Marine squad that the Master Chief's alive. This would cause the characters to be reinvigorated, hope restored, and they'd carry on fighting whatever missions they need to. Of course, you're still only human, but you feel a bit braver knowing that there's still a chance that you can win. There could maybe even be a potential mission where your character's captured alongside another squad of Marines, taken to one of the keeps, and Chief comes along and saves the day. But of course, this wouldn't be something that necessarily needs to happen. I just think it would be cool and reassuring for the character to hear over the comms that, like, Chief lives, he's still out there, he's still fighting. Since the game would mostly centre around hope, it would be cool seeing it from a perspective of just a normal person, similar to how we do from the pilots in Infinite, except you'd be playing as this character. You'd see it through their eyes. You'd see how over this 6-month period most people had really given up. Until Chief comes back, the Marines at the UNSC thought it was over, and I think it would be a really interesting game. Of course, if it's being developed by a COD team, it means it would have more of a Call of Duty-esque gameplay, and I think this would fit playing as a Marine really well. Everything would feel a lot heavier, and I think that would be quite interesting. And it would be also really cool fighting the Banished from this perspective. Imagine fighting a Hunter, but it would feel like a true, actual boss fight, because they would tower over you. And I think there's a lot of potential there for a really interesting story, and I think the gameplay would be really cool too. It would also be a good way to tie it into Infinite, introduce some new fans to the franchise, maybe some people that of course enjoy Call of Duty more think, oh, if this game plays like COD, I'll give this one a go, and then they might play Infinite, and if it's sort of tied directly to that game, it could add more to Infinite's story. They could even have like the character from this spin-off show up in a potential like future Halo Infinite DLC or something like that, and that would be really interesting. Of course, I'm talking here as if this is something that will happen. Obviously, probably really won't, but I think it would be really cool to see. The second story concept I won't be talking about for as long, but it'd be interesting if one of the Activision Call of Duty teams got to make a sequel to Halo 3 ODST. It could just be called Halo ODST or Halo ODST 2 or something along those lines, but it would be cool to see them make that game. It's a game that fans have wanted for a really long time, and I think having this different style of gameplay would actually benefit it. ODSTs are of course very much human, they're not enhanced like a Spartan, so again, having it from like a Call of Duty style gameplay would be really cool. It would add much more weight to the character. Obviously, a Spartan can sprint at high speeds because, yeah, sure, they're wearing heavy armor, but they are genetically enhanced, where an ODST is still wearing some bulky armor, but they are not. As for the story for this game, I believe there's a couple of different options. Now, of course, they could do something completely original. It could take place maybe not long after the first game. It could take place about a different group of ODSTs, or maybe they could adapt Halo Bad Blood as a game. That's something we've not really seen before, seeing one of the books get a full game adaptation that's quite literally like almost a one-to-one copy. Obviously, they probably have to make some changes here and there since it would be a game and not a book, but I feel like that, again, would be something really interesting to see, definitely something different for the franchise. Anyway, moving away from story ideas, let's talk about the multiplayer. Now, obviously, the multiplayer would be essentially Call of Duty with a Halo coat of paint, but seeing some of the Halo weapons and stuff like that in that sort of style would be pretty sweet. And I'm not really a big Call of Duty fan, I'm not a fan of COD's multiplayer, but if this was something that was there, I'd definitely give it a go. I don't think for a game like this, multiplayer is something that necessarily needs to be there. I'd more so play it for the story, because I'd like to see a more grounded story told by a different development team. I think that would be something that a lot of fans would enjoy. But I can't deny the fact that having a Call of Duty type Halo multiplayer would be pretty fun. Sneaking around with a suppressed SMG or like a tactical pistol or whatever. Obviously, Halo has plenty of weapons from its franchise that this game could utilise, except they'd feel completely different in this new gameplay style. There'd obviously be some new maps, but I reckon there's room for old ones to return to from other Halo games. It'd be interesting to see how they play with that gameplay style too. Something that they could definitely do as well is have tie-ins with Infinite, like, hey, if you play this game by this team, you'll unlock this reward for Halo Infinite, and if you've played Halo Infinite, you'll unlock this skin on this game, to sort of convince players from both to sort of give the games a go. I reckon having that game there would draw a lot of Call of Duty fans to give Halo a go as a franchise. They'd of course probably start with that one, but maybe play some of the other games too because they enjoyed that. But as for the final bonus mode that I was talking about, I think it would be awesome to see a Halo Flood Firefight Zombies type mode, sort of like in vein of the Zombies mode from Call of Duty, but with elements of Firefight fighting against the Flood from Halo. It would be terrifying with the Call of Duty gameplay, the ominous like sort of flood noises as you're going around. It could even have like its own version of the mystery box. Maybe you could call an ordnance drop in instead at certain stations and it would drop in ordnance drop in. It would honestly be a petrifying game mode. Seeing the like flood brutes sort of charge towards you or something along those lines, all the different flood forms. There could even be boss waves where you have to fight like a grave mine tentacle that pops out the ground, or of course there's plenty of other options. I feel like I picked the most boring one as an example there. But again, this would be an amazing game mode. Flood Firefight is something that fans really want. Of course, it was available in one of the Master Chief Collection fights, and it might be in the game now. But I think having that sort of zombies game mode style to it would like amplify the terror up to 11. Confined less to open spaces and stuck more so in corridors and stuff like that. I think it would be cool to have some open areas, and it'd be nice to see some firefight elements make its way into it. I don't quite know what they do, but it would definitely make it a bit more unique from zombies and not just feel like zombies but with the flood. But even then, if it was just zombies with a flood, that would still be awesome. But yeah, that's basically everything I've got to say about this potential game idea. Let me know what you think. Would you like to see a game like this come out? Do you have your own story ideas that you'd like to see? Would you like to see a new ODST game done by a COD development team? Would you like to see something completely original, like the Marine story that I went on about? Do you have your own story ideas? Feel free to let me know down in the comments. Or maybe you hate this idea and never want to see a COD development team touch Halo as a series. And if that's the case, again, let me know. But anyway folks, if you have enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new here. I'm aiming for 1,000 subs by the end of the year, and maybe we can even reach 700 by the end of February. And hey, maybe share the video to a friend or two if you would like. This is probably the biggest video that I've worked on. It's taken me a good while to get everything together, and of course I still need to edit at this point in time, but by the time you're watching it's already been edited, of course. But yeah, anyway folks, that's all from me, and I'll catch you in the next one.